All right, welcome everyone. We have another special guest on a podcast. It's episode number 54. We have Mr. Scott Ball joining us. Scott, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Considering the times. It's a crazy time, of course, but I appreciate you taking the time to join. I know it's been hectic and busy for you, like many, a lot of changes and disruptions in the industries. But I wanted to first dive in here with a little background on yourself. For those that in poker, a lot of you know that you are the creator catalyst for Twitch Poker, which we'll talk about. You have an agency now, but tell us a little bit about yourself and the early days of Scott Ball, how you kind of got into poker, your background with poker, and even before that, I think some wrestling and whatnot. Let us dive us into the deep days of Scott Ball. Give us a little rundown.
My life in a recap has been really weird. So I started wrestling when I was really young, like 4 or 5 years old. Wrestled until I was 18. College was not for me. I wasn't mature enough, like remotely mature enough to cut it at a university. So I stopped doing that. I fought for a while. I ended up getting sick and was diagnosed with epilepsy. When that happened, I ended up not really knowing what to do, man. Like I had wrestled since my first memory, I'm not joking, is a wrestling match. My first memory is like my first match I won and my dad just being so freaking proud. So awesome. I got like the dopest like little like $1 breakfast burrito from the snack cart immediately following my win. They gave me a stomach ache and I just got dominated my next 2 matches, but I was so pumped I won 1 match.
That's awesome. That's good. It's nice to have that positive reinforcement. And I mean, sports as a kid and doing competitive stuff. So I get it. That's awesome. So you were doing wrestling for how long was that?
14. Well, I mean, if you count my fighting years, like 17 years, 18 years or so.
Wow.
So I didn't want to do college. So I started fighting for a while. I ended up having a few bad experiences over like a 2-week period, getting diagnosed with epilepsy. When that happened, I like didn't know what to do. I kind of like felt dead inside, to be totally honest, because I just didn't know what I could do if I couldn't compete. I didn't know how to do anything but be an athlete at the time, which is funny because now I'm obviously quite the stellar athlete. I'm in peak physical condition at 33. So I got into video games and poker. And
just real quick before we dive in, I'm sorry, could you explain, because I've heard the term epilepsy. I'm relatively familiar. What is that exactly? What does that do? And is that something that they're able to, is there different stages or degrees of that, or what exactly did that do to not allow you to compete, or how did that impact you?
Sure. Well, when I was fighting, it was professional enough to where there was like athletic commissions. Wherever I fought, it was sanctioned events. So I'd be medically cleared to fight by a doctor that worked for California State Athletic Commission, Nevada, wherever it was in the world. And when epilepsy is it's actually like sound. It's probably one of the most common misunderstood conditions. So it just means you have seizures. There's hundreds of kinds of seizures,
right?
All of which are different, but doctors treat them all the exact same way because they don't know enough about them. Okay. So as soon as you have a seizure, you lose your driver's license when you go to the doctor. You're put on disability. They change your whole life immediately. So I'm healthy right now, but if I were to call the doctor tomorrow, be like, "Hey, I had a seizure yesterday. My license is gone for a minimum of 6 months in California."
Oh, so if you have a seizure, they take for 6 months. You're not allowed to drive.
Yeah, which creates this really weird dynamic of people don't want to tell doctors about it.
Yeah, of course.
Because if you're an adult, and you have responsibilities, you have to meet your responsibilities. If you tell your doctor you're sick, and all of a sudden you're making $900 a month because you're sick,
right?
You're just screwed.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, it's very.
So epilepsy means you have seizures, but there's hundreds of kinds of seizures. So I had a few different kinds. One of the kinds is called grand mal, which is like where your whole body shakes and they're kind of ugly looking. I have different different kinds of pseudo seizures that they would call them. And this is going to make me sound really weird, but one of them, it's the only way I can describe it. It's almost like you can see air and you see shapes. So it's like you can see it. I totally space out, lose sight of any conversation that's happening. Don't remember what the conversation is happening. Nothing happens to my body, but it's like I can see like circles or triangles or like stars, like kind of in the sky, almost like in the air in front of me in the room. Then there's other seizures where you can be talking to someone that I've had in the past, where I'm having a conversation with you and all of a sudden I'm just like blank out and just stare at you for like 20, 30 seconds. And you're like, "Hey, you going to respond to me? What's up, man? Hey, you there?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" So there's different kinds of seizures and they treat them all the same way.
And
Which,
you've had a variety of them. You've had several different types or different.
a few different types. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
right now I'm totally good though, under control. I had to make some serious lifestyle adjustments.
right.
And it's really important that I maintain those lifestyle adjustments or I do get sick. So I have to be really on top of my stuff in order to stay healthy.
And what was that sparred by the fighting, do you believe, or was that induced from that, or is it seizures is totally random? I mean, is it generally from fighting and stuff, or is it just people get them or don't get them? And is there any like direct cause they think of
Yeah.
that?
So I'm not going to get into all the specifics of one of the stories, but there's two stories. One, I got knocked out really bad for the first time in my life. And 2 weeks later, in an act of self-defense, I ended up getting tased for like over a minute when I was jumped by 3 people. And I started having seizures like a day after that. So I got tased for a really long period of time and probably shouldn't be around. So I personally think, because I was hit, I mean, not gonna lie, I was hit a lot. I was a wrestler, so I would just walk at people and swing and take them down and try to win fights that way, which involves getting hit sometimes, right? But I personally think it was probably more the fact there was like an electric current running through my body for way too long at some point. But yeah, so then I got into poker and video games. I started a little esports organization called It's Gosu Esports. That ended up we ended up having a Dota team that became Cloud9's original Dota team. League of Legends team. We had a Dota team with guys like Universe and 1437 and Bulba, guys that have actually won a tournament called the International multiple times.
Okay.
And I had one of the best StarCraft rosters in America, and it was pretty cool because I was paying I had a total of like $1,000 a month that I was spending on players' salaries.
Nice.
This is like OG esports, right? Where there was no money really unless you played for one specific team called Evil Geniuses.
What year was this roughly? How long ago was this?
2008 or 9, maybe.
So I mean, this is this is like pre the esports craze. Like this is like
this is pre the craze for sure.
Level 1, you were in there. You saw, so you were with the wave and sort of seeing it develop from the start.
Yeah, I was involved in esports since like pre-Justin TV days, so like pre-Twitch, pre-streaming, back in even called Warcraft 3. This goes way back. And I was literally playing like 1 cent, 2 cent online in poker, and I ended up living with a bunch of pro gamers in a team house.
Yeah.
And we, of course, naturally started playing poker a couple nights a week at the house for like 20, a quarter at a time. And then we started playing for like $10 at a time. And then I remember thinking like, oh man, this game is so good. And I'm so good at this game. It's so easy. So like, obviously after running the local casino in Oceanside, California called Ocean's 11 and play this 1-1 $40 capped, 40 big blind capped game that rakes 10% of pots. Wow. So an unbeatable game. And I'll never forget literally the first hand of poker I ever played in an actual casino. Like the first hand I actually put money in voluntarily. I had aces and I just got it all in versus the old 7 deuce and just got mashed for 40 big blinds and left with my head down, walking to my car like, screw this game, man. It's the hardest thing ever. I can't believe people can be that bad and beat me. And the reality is I was just as bad as they were. So
yeah, that's a dramatic beat though. The best hand versus the worst hand, all in live. And yeah, that's it's amazing you stuck with it. That's a tough way to go out.
I didn't know what to do, man. I just had 40 big blinds, and I was like, "Well, I have aces, so I'm all in." That's how you play poker, right? I read the Legend Phil Hellmuth's book that said if you have a top 10 hand, just go all in over and over again, and you win.
Right.
So I did, and I lost.
It wasn't for luck. It wasn't for luck to win it all, right? That's the way it is, man. We got a lot of love for Phil. We'll talk about that some with Endgame talent.
Sweet.
We'll touch on that later. That's exciting stuff that you got a president of a very successful agency running. We'll definitely hit on that. But yeah, so tell me a little bit. You do the wrestling. You have this epilepsy, some stuff where you can't compete. This is what you know. You get into games. You're doing some esports, and then what year did you get? Was this when you went into Twitch, or was this before that? Were you doing some working?
This is way pre-Twitch.
Way pre-Twitch. So you're doing this until what? Then what was the next step after you started picking up poker? You were playing poker for a while?
Yeah, so I was playing like 1 cent, 2 cent online, then like 2 cent, 5 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, and just kind of climbing through the ranks. And I remember, to be honest with you, I had a job at a little local casino, just trying to make ends meet. And I was like a security supervisor on the graveyard shift and on a reservation, so it was a pretty sketchy job actually. And I was making $10.50 an hour. to like get in fist fights with people that were drunk and fighting each other. It was horrible. So I ended up doing that for like maybe 6 months or so. And I was able to get myself to the point where I would definitely not rolled for it, but I decided to try like 1-3 live at a local casino called Pachanga in Temecula, California. And I remember going in there, and the poker room was huge, super nice, really spacious, really comfortable. And I kind of just went on like a huge heater, and I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say I won like 35 sessions in a row.
Right.
And I won between
couldn't lose. Just
yeah,
like
yeah,
mode.
yeah, yeah. I was definitely doing the impossible every day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I won like, a decent amount of money. At the time I was married, and I ended up having to contribute for my ex's father's funeral a bit with the role I built. So I ended up losing a chunk of my role, and then just kind of working various small, like low paying esports jobs because I was passionate about the industry while trying to play poker to supplement my income.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked with Evil Geniuses, the bigger team I was just talking about earlier, at one point I was not paid very much money. And I literally texted my boss and I was like, hey, I need a $3,000 loan to try to play poker so I can make ends meet with the salary I'm giving here because I want to focus on this. And
Right.
he was like, I'll just give you $3,000, which is pretty cool. He was like, you should go do that. And I played poker like 20 hours a week and worked for EG, making like EG, I think was paying me $1,500 a month or $1,800 a month. And I was making a little more than that playing poker. So I was like, okay,
Right.
well, I can make $3,000 a month and I can pay my bills. My apartment was $840 a month,
Right.
And then I kind of just kept playing poker from there. And
where were you living during this time? This was still you were in San Diego, or?
I was in a town called Temecula and a town called Lake Elsinore, which is all in the same area.
Okay.
So in San Diego area, but it's technically Riverside County, I think.
Right. Okay. So you're grinding, you're playing, you're doing the poker thing, you're making some money, the booms are going on, you're watching it. And then where did you segue from that? Or were you, cause you were playing a fair amount of poker for a while, right? I mean, you were doing it for you're playing tournaments. Did you prefer cash games or tournaments, or you did a little everything?
Man, I still suck at tournaments. Tournaments are so hard. I just love poker, man. It's a game that's like really, I mean, it's hard to think of many things that have had a bigger impact on my life than poker. So I feel like I owe the game of poker a lot. Like when I started it, when I was working with Twitch and I brought poker onto the platform, it was one of those things where it was the first non-endemic vertical Twitch had ever brought onto the platform. No one had ever done anything like this.
Explain that term for me again. I know what it means, but just explain what that means. So you did you brought over the first
non-traditional gaming vertical. It's like nothing that matches. So
there's a first one on Twitch. Well, now to give an idea, how many different non-gaming are there? Because it's expanded a ton now.
Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, there was creative for a while. There's music now. There's just like a just chatting section, which is like kind of the majority of all of that content. But there was IRL at one point, creative, music and performing arts, art, all sorts of different stuff. There's other casino games now, chess.
Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. If you guys aren't familiar with Twitch, I would be surprised. But this is where you can watch. Well, I'll let you actually, since you know it better anyway. How would you describe to someone who doesn't know what Twitch is? What is the way you describe it? Because I mean, look at how many different games and how many different viewers are. Just all literally any type of video game or category. Plus whatever the stuff you're mentioning as well. But what is Twitch to someone who's never heard of it?
Yeah, Twitch is a live streaming platform, but what makes it the most unique is it's all about communities. It's all about hanging out with the streamer and all about hanging out with the viewers. So the best part about Twitch is you can go into a chat and see someone that's live, say hello, talk to them, and literally have a conversation with the person that you admire or watching, and actually talk to them and get to know them as a person. So if you're watching Jeff Gross live on Twitch, Jeff Gross can actually say hello to you if you're chatting in his chat and acknowledge you exist, which is super special. And for content creators and influencers, I always tell people it's the opportunity for them to generate super fans, because a guy like Tom Brady can't say hi to every Tom Brady fan after every football game. On Twitch, that Twitch streamer can say hi to whoever they want to. And sometimes there's so many people, it's impossible to say hi to everyone, but they do get to as many people as possible. And they do come around usually to if you're in there enough, acknowledging you, which is a super big deal, you know?
Right. Yeah, like this is it right here. Just showing an example, guys, like this. There's Ryan Schumbert. He's streaming. He's a part of Party Poker, and he's in there dancing, playing music. You see him on video. You can type in the chat, and there's of course a delay with poker, which is different than most of the categories, right? That's one thing that would where you can have live interaction, but for poker, of course, there's a delay. You know, you set 3 to 6 minutes, and so if someone that is watching your stream doesn't just see your cards, it makes sense. But other than that, it's pretty instant, right? What is the actual delay on like just games that are live or people? Most of the Twitch is it? I mean, is there a slight delay that pauses? So it's not like Twitch isn't reviewing everything before it goes through, right? It's pretty much live, and then if there's like gets warnings or if there's some like protocols to people that are being hazardous. I guess there's people report or this and that, but is there I've been actually with you. I went to the one of the main, I don't know if it's their main or in San Francisco, like the headquarters of Twitch is pretty cool. Like the big jumbo screens and people are, watching and looking. It's like the New York Stock Exchange, but for the headquarters
for video games.
Yeah, for video games. But is that something like with security wise and everything there, how closely do they monitor? Is there any protocol or how do they kind of keep track of all this? So, I mean, it was bought for $970 million. Correct me if I'm wrong, from Amazon in 14 or 15, 16, somewhere in there. And I mean, it's probably worth way more than that, right? I mean, it's just snowballed and grown continuously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it would actually be worth right now. Amazon already owns it, so I think everyone needs to grow it and make sure Amazon's happy.
Right. Where do you go from there? It's not much to no one's really buying after that.
Your exit's been had. Now keep the parent company happy, which is not always easy to do because they set big goals. Obviously, when they spend $1 billion on something. Yeah. So how close do they monitor stuff? So stuff when I left was like 15-second delay, and I know it's gotten better. So it's probably within like that 5-second number would be my guess, but I don't know the exact answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say when I chat, like when I do go into streams or if I say hi and chat in and then it's a live version or not on a delay, it does seem like almost instant. If someone sees it right away, it's not a pause. So it's pretty incredible. And tell me a little bit about what year you went to Twitch. How did you get to Twitch? And when you came to, I like asking like 7 questions at once. So let's just start with that. How did you get to Twitch? Where did you segue in to get to this? And it used to be called Justin TV. So explain a little bit about the evolution of Twitch, if you will, as well.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with the evolution of Twitch. So it started out at Justin TV. They said, okay, well, we're going to let video games be a part of our platform. It was originally just a guy named Justin Kahn walking around with like a webcam and filming his life, basically, which is pretty dope. But they realized that the technology was people were more interested in. So then like there was a news network streaming and people restreaming stuff and all sorts of things. They said video games could be a thing on here. When video games became a thing, they had it be when video games became a thing, they essentially started having a lot of their minutes watched be consumed by gaming content. And they kept setting milestone goals. They were like, okay, if this much of our minutes watched consumed, percentage of our content is because video games, will dedicate more staff to video games. And eventually it was like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to be all in video games for now, which is kind of funny because now the evolution of Twitch is like it was non-gaming. It became all gaming, and now it's actually becoming non-gaming and gaming again, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like almost like doing the reverse of what it originally thought it would do. Mm-hmm. How I got started there, video games was a huge chunk of my life, and obviously had esports teams. And when Justin TV became a thing, they were streaming these big tournaments, which was just a massive opportunity for all of the esports organizations to get their players out there and try to get sponsorships, because there really wasn't money in the space. We were all doing this for, I joke around. People ask me sometimes how you get a job in esports. Well, back in the day, it used to be you worked for free for a really long time and hope it worked out. Now you can get, if you have a really good resume and you have connections, you can get a small paid internship and things like that with these bigger teams, and they actually have real staffs. Like back when I was starting, it was me, and like I was paying my own money to do this, and I had like 4 or 5 volunteer staff and players that I was paying a total of $1,000 a month. And it was just a matter of like, how do I book all the flights to the next MLG event? How do I fly 10 StarCraft players to the next tournament and things like that? So Justin TV and Twitch TV created a huge opportunity for us to build sponsorship relationships and try to get our content out there and build a brand.
Right.
We ended up getting to know the folks at JTV and Twitch really well over the years. I was working at a company called Razor when I moved to Twitch, and I was on their esports team, working on that initiative there with it, which is a big peripheral company.
Okay.
And at the time, it ended up I was at an event called Evo, which is in Vegas, and it takes place like roughly around the World Series of Poker main every year.
Okay.
And for any poker players that are a little bit interested in video games, highly recommend if you ever have an unfortunate main event series and you're still in Vegas, checking out Evo, because it is super dope. It's the Fighting Game World Championship, so it's like 1,000 plus of the best Street Fighter players in the world will show up to play against each other in Street Fighter, and the community is like mega hype. Like the events are just nuts. So at the end of the day, I was at a Twitch after party. It was like a little bar, and it was at there's an old, fairly divey casino in Vegas where Evo used to be, and it's in like the backside, kind of in its own space, not in old Vegas, but it's kind of in between old and new Vegas. They rebranded it a few years ago. They have a little tiny poker room, I think, now.
Okay.
I think it was called the Westgate. Is that a casino back in
I think that yeah, for sure it is. I don't know if that's the area you're talking about, but it is. It's either Westgate. I've heard of that. I've never been.
Oh, you don't want to go.
Like not a spot, not a hot spot.
It's not the spot for you or a lot of people, I don't think.
Right.
I think it might have been Westgate, but it was something like that. And they were having this after party at this little bar, and they had Street Fighter setups and all these things set up for people to play. We were all drinking. And a really good friend of mine named JT Gleason, who was actually my second boss at Twitch, I guess. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we were drunk, and he was like, "Scott, poker's so cool." I was like, "I could poker on Twitch stuff. It'll be fun." And then he was like, "We got to go talk to Justin Wong right now." And Justin Wong was the guy running partnerships there.
Not Justin TV, not the guy.
Justin Khan. Yeah, Justin Wong's an OG though. He was there for a really, really long time and definitely played a pivotal role. And he was like, and he was drinking too. He was like, "Okay, poker's cool," but he was like, he's a Stanford guy, so he was able to keep his composure better than me, right? He's like, "Okay, we could do this." And then a few days later, I got a call from their CSO, or their former CSO, a guy named Colin Carrier, who's a real smart guy, and he was like, "We've never done anything non-gaming. I think poker's cool. Think you could really do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And they set these like what were supposed to be very intense milestones for like viewers and minutes watched. And they were like, if these achieve this level of minutes watched, like maybe we can make this a real thing, and you could like just focus on growing this category. Twitch has a super dope philosophy that I've carried over to Endgame that I love called experiment. Then they say it's a experiment to decide. So they're down to try things and see if they work.
Right.
So they tried it.
What was the term you used for that?
Experiment to decide.
Experiment to decide. Interesting. Okay. I haven't heard that.
If you want to do something, try it, see how it goes, and then make a decision before you make the big grandiose decision. So they set these goals that were like really intense there. Like if you can hit this many minutes watched a month at the end of 3 months, we will make poker on Twitch a thing. Boom. Well, we did it in like 16 days. We had that minutes watched.
And tell me about that. So how did you once you were given that task, once you kind of got this, got to be exciting because you love poker, you're working there, and now it's like you get to sort of form a category potentially if you can hit the barometer set. So what happened? So how did you then? What was your first plan of attack?
So the first thing I did was call Jason Somerville.
Smart.
And this is back when I think he was like Ultimate Poker or something like that.
You know what? That summer, this is when poker first got legalized in the U.S. Antonio was one of the face of that. I remember I was one of the sponsored players there for the summer, and we had a couple meetings, and I would see Jason running around like he had a crew, he had the cameras, super go-getter and doing the stuff, and he was doing I think on YouTube maybe originally or filming some stuff for that, and then I just saw him like. Run it up. He was doing run it up, do this whole concept. And I hadn't really got into any of the Twitch. I didn't know, not Twitch, even just like social or YouTube or anything. And I just kind of was like, man, this kid's really motivated and hungry. And I saw him doing his whole little deal. And I remember that whole process because he was like, that's where he was diving in, going for it at this time. And this is literally that summer. It was then when he kind of got going on Twitch, or was it the next summer? Because it was like 13, right? That must have been 2013, I would guess. Or 14.
Yeah, something like that, 2013, 2014. And he, I actually, it took me a lot of convincing him that he should stop doing YouTube and just focus on Twitch. It was like, that was like a real sweat where like Jason might not do this. And if Jason doesn't do this, I had a backup plan. But to be honest with you, the first part of my strategy, and it was the first time anyone at Twitch I created a strategy for actually growing a vertical on the platform, was I needed to find a face and a voice of Twitch poker. I trusted Jason. I know that Jason is a great human being.
Yep.
And I know that I mean, that guy works so hard, dude. When he's committed to something, he is like so focused and all in on the thing. Absolutely. It's amazing. And I know if he saw it working, he would be a good face and a voice. So Jason got a lot of love from us back in the day, and he really killed it for us too.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the godfather of Twitch poker in terms, stream wise. And it's interesting. Again, for those that don't know, that is like you are the one who came on, and this was your task to sort of build it. So you guys sort of made a partnership there, and it had it's an alliance to make it work. Just to be clear, was there already people doing some poker stuff on Twitch, or was Jason Somerville, was there zero category and you hit Jason up and he started streaming poker and that's how it snowballed? Or was there some other people sort of messing around, dabbling, trying it, who have heard of Twitch, and Jason just kind of, came in as like an established pro sponsored big name and was the one that sort of took off? Was he like the OG, or was there some other people just kind of experimenting that in there already? Like, how does that work?
So this is actually super funny and a really good question. So before I was started, and when I first started, in our partnership contracts, it was actually illegal to stream anything gambling on the platform. Okay. So people were getting banned for streaming poker on Twitch when I first started. Jason, when you say first pro, I honestly don't even think Jason had become a big pro yet. I think at the time he was like an ultimate poker guy that people knew had a lot of potential, but I don't think he had quite like Jason's made it, I would say.
Yes.
He killed it. I don't think he had like made it back then.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking in my head, oh yeah, he was already with Stars and he was like a big.
No, he wasn't with Stars yet. That happened.
That's the thing. He was with Ultimate Poker and then built this, and then once Ultimate Poker didn't work out, and that whole thing with.
Dude, he was such a boss that he became a Stars pro from living in the United States.
Right.
Like you did that. Like, and you're like that's a huge deal when you become a site pro for a site that doesn't take U.S. players.
Well, no, I mean,
that's like sure. You got to jump through some hurdles, man.
It's definitely obviously the back in the day poker. It's changed right from the heyday or 04, 05, 06, 07, and where it is now, and it sort of feels like it's coming back, sort of trending back, and U.S. legalizing sports at a federal level, and a lot of changes right now in the world in general. But in gaming sports, it's always exciting. But so Jason, then you put him on, and then he just.
I didn't finish answering that question. I'm sorry. So there was one person. I remember the first day I was in the office.
Yeah. Because
I started from home for a while, and I was just like talking to Jason's friends, so guys like Dan O'Brien, people like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dan O'Brien was pretty. He was playing a fair amount. He was doing
when I started at Twitch, there wasn't like a Scott, this is how you do your job. This is what you do. I showed up with like a 10-page strategy. It was like, I'm going to do this. And they're like, great, go do it. Here's your desk. By the way, here's a computer. Here's some peripherals. I hope you like them. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. So I remember sitting at my desk. Yeah. Honestly, I put on my headphones, turn on some music. I was like, what the hell do I do? What do I do next? I have no idea what is going on. And I ended up just going to Twitch and sitting on the site and was like, well, I'll just type in the word poker and see what happens. And there was a guy named Grips streaming poker. So Grips was probably the person that I would say was the first person that wasn't Jason that I saw stream poker.
Evan Jarvis.
Yeah, Grips. Yep. Then, I mean, this is so back in the day that Jamie Staples literally tweeted at me and was like, hey, can I talk to you? I really want to stream poker. And I followed him, DM'd him. He had 2 or 3 Twitter followers at the time. And he said, hey, Scott, I would really like to try to stream poker, but I have a Mac and there's no delay features of it. This is so old school. There was no delay built into Twitch. So you couldn't just drag a bar. You had to use OBS or XSplit. And there was no way to get delay on a Mac. So the only way you can get that delay function on Twitch was if you were partnered. So Jamie had 0 viewers and 3 Twitter followers and sent me basically a few tweets or messages that were like, hey, man, I really believe I can do this. I'm going to work really hard. I can do this. I promise I can do this. I know you're not supposed to, but will you please partner me so I have a chance? and I partnered Jamie, and now Jamie's obviously growing into something pretty big, right?
Yeah.
And that's all because he worked super hard to do it. But like, that's what I mean. Old school. Like, I think Jamie had 3 Twitter followers when he messaged.
That's crazy because the first well, obviously now Jamie Staples, people who know poker, know Twitch, know his name. He's all synonymous with Somerville and Lex and some of the guys that have really blown up or had huge streams. Tonka over the years. I mean, you've seen everyone kind of come through the ranks. You've been there from the start, and you follow up with it. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Jamie and what he did, and I think that just shows kind of work ethic and going for it. And same with you. It's like, you have an idea. You got to just believe in it. You got to just stick with it because it's not easy, and you got to want it, right? Like, it's like there's so many people that you can make excuses. Oh, I don't have this, or I can't get that, or you look at a rule and listen, rules are meant to be followed, but just for guidelines, right? You got to have people to keep everything the status quo. You can't have whatever. But if you really want something, you got to go for it, and maybe take a shot, make an ask, reach out to someone, and I think that's something that Jamie was fortunate that you were able to sort of recognize that. You see the desire, you see the hunger, and he got to expedite his career. And that was how I got into Twitch poker. I saw Jason Somerville, I saw Jamie Staples, Kevin Martin, these guys where I went on and I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I love poker, I love people. This makes sense, right? Like, this is something that makes sense and is viable. And I think it's something you can see as well. Like, I can't imagine how many people, known pros, people come to you and say, even now, we're like, hey, like, I want to stream, right? Or not even on poker, I want to do this, I want to become a streamer. It's not easy, right? Like, it's like you can give them the blueprint. You can say, all right, here's the equipment, here's what you need to do. But if it were easy, everyone would do it. And the reality is, it's like, there's stuff to it. You need the equipment, you need help, you need OBS, to Streamlabs, you need to do all these things. You got to learn it. And it's not easy to start from zero, right? It's really hard. Like Jamie or these guys, everyone did it. But when Jason Somerville, you got to want it. You got to love it. Because when you click live and you have 2 viewers the first day for 6 hours, and you're taking bad beats and poker and just hanging out, it's not all sexy and fun. So, you got guys who build Twitch who are in it, and guys that are doing it now, I would just say, if you have any messages, I'm sure you deal with this a lot, right? That's what I say. You probably have guys that want to say, I want to stream on Twitch, and then they just never follow through, and you like give them your advice or some tips. But a lot of people just.
Do you remember how you started?
Well, vague. I mean, I remember it's all sort of a blur, but yeah, I remember for the most part. I know we had some intense conversations as well, but how do you remember it exactly? Because I have some crazy, I wanted this about Scott Ball, but yeah, I definitely remember, some tough times and early learning curve with Twitch. But how do you remember?
I remember me being in Vegas for the summer for the series and going to your condo, which was near the Strip.
2015, it must have been then. This was like
something exactly like that. Yeah, you owned a condo near the Strip, and you invited me over, and like, you just had a computer and some stuff sitting there, and you were like, how stream?
Yeah,
I remember sitting there like, okay, well, we do this and this and this, and then you click this button, and I'm live, and all I have to do is open this up and click this button, and it's kind of crazy to see now you have like a podcast, you have this big Twitch following, you have a YouTube channel that's growing, you've done all these different things, and like back in the day, like it was like OBS, I have to download something, I have to put stuff in a program, like, oh my gosh, like.
I gotta give a shout out to Vadrian, because like for sure in Twitch, if you weren't available and a contact and someone I could talk to, with Vadrian, I got very fortunate, saw his overlay graphics on I think I was actually watching Killing Bird, Derek at the time, awesome, and I saw like his graphics, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I don't know, because I was getting quotes from some people, like crazy numbers. I was like, yeah, I want to build I got referred to someone. It's like, they were like, yeah, we want 5,000, here, we'll do like your monologue, or we'll explain like your some dialogue for you to do, and we'll do the overlay. And they're like, we'll charge you $5,000. I was like, what? $5,000 to set up my thing? And I was like, I didn't know the industry or the prices, but I mean, now I know it was kind of a gouging that person was going for, that someone referred me to. But regardless, I got in touch with Adrian, got lucky with some help. You obviously, help to expedite, and I could go as someone to chat with, which was great. But yeah, it's crazy, right? It just like seeing now even I get amazed, because I'll take off a month or two, and I'm not an everyday streamer, but seeing the developments Twitch makes, like with the squad mode, with the bits, they're just doing so many things that are constantly making it better. Like looking back to that early days and where it was, it's crazy, right? Like the evolution of what Twitch has done in terms of functionality and features. It's really cool. I mean, it's definitely it's come a long way since those days. Like it's really,
you mentioned Streamlabs, and you started streaming. Streamlabs wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
that wasn't. They didn't have Streamlabs OBS, and like alerts like were like so hard to set up, and like it's definitely become a lot easier, and there's a lot more tools available for content creators, which is awesome.
Yeah, it really is cool. So yeah, all right. So you're in there. You start. Let's talk a little bit about where I want to touch on the John Party, Ryan DePaulo stuff right now, where they're trying to get partnered. I want to cover that in a second. Don't let me forget. But talk to me a bit about the early days, front page. You know, how many people you were managing, all these things. Because
he wants to bring up that subject. All right. So
well, no, I just want to know how, like, because it came. No. It came up as there's so many. You all of a sudden go from Jason. You know, who would you say like megastar Twitch? Like early days, it was basically Jason, and then you had some other channels emerge like at the back in the day.
So,
like
the strategy at the time was to make one person a face and a voice as big as humanly possible,
right?
And then in return for doing that, they would then promote other people within the community.
Right.
And they would drive lots of people to discover poker on Twitch. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind now there's lots of different non-endemic verticals on the platform, right? Back then there was none. So there was actually a big deal with like, well, how are our viewers going to like it when they see poker rather than League of Legends or StarCraft? That was like, oh, we don't know how people are going to react. So what my goal was to expose poker on the platform in a fun, meaningful way to as many other viewers as possible. So they click the poker directory on the site and go find other people.
Right.
So front page time has always been and is very expensive. That's something that Twitch can sell for an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, it's really wild, actually.
I know. And I'm sure you've heard stories, but it gets crazy.
Yeah.
Because that the site gets hundreds of millions of people a month. And like, if you're on there for an hour in what they call the hero slot, which is like the first thing you see when you go to twitch.tv,
right,
the exposure is just, it's insane. So at the end of the day, I was allotted throughout various points, X number of hours of front page time per week. And these are the time slots I was allowed to give them. And I definitely gave the vast majority of it to Jason Somerville.
Right.
And one of the hardest parts about my job back then was, and this is being really honest, is that a lot of people were like really angry with me for a long time. And I think some people probably still are because they feel like I gave Jason so much more than I gave them. And that if I would have given them more at the time, they're still streaming. So they could have been better than bigger than Jason. And we helped Jason too much. But what I would respond to that is that one, when you're in a position like I was, my job was to grow a directory at Twitch, whatever that meant. If I didn't grow that directory on Twitch and we didn't hit our quotas and we didn't get to those goals, that wouldn't have been a thing. Twitch Poker would have just started and disappeared.
Right.
Two, I really think the strategy that we put in place, while it frustrated some people, worked. I think Twitch Poker has definitely like revolutionized poker. I think like Poker Central didn't exist before Twitch Poker was a thing. I know that, I shouldn't take anything away from it, but like the Global Poker Index and the Global Poker Awards, Twitch Poker existed for like 4 months, and they called and were like, hey, can you come to these awards? Because you're going to be nominated for one as Innovation of the Year for the industry. And like, you might actually win. And we went and we won. And it was the only thing for 4 months. Like poker on Twitch and the work that Jason put in on the ground and building this revolutionized the whole game. So rather than people being frustrated that they didn't have as much front page time or support as Jason, I would hope that people would realize that he really did a lot for paving the way, and he did promote people. He still does. Look at Run It Up. They have a bunch of Run It Up people now. Like, he's always done a good job at growing other people, hosting other channels, bringing audience to their channels, growing. Like, he did a lot internally at Stars back in the day to like help evangelize Twitch in Poker Stars. And
yeah, look at, they have 1.5 million followers in the category now. I mean, that's pretty strong. You look at even, other games, and there's very popular games. I mean, 1.5 million, that's massive. I mean, look, even like FIFA, some of these most popular video games only double. I mean, it's fair to say poker is it's a strong category. I mean,
at one point it was the fastest growing directory on Twitch.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And I think that is important as well, because it's politics and it's tough, right? There's decisions, and it's like anything in life: right place, right time, different scenarios. It's like of course people are battling, people are thinking, oh, this or that, but that makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, you gotta have some LeBron James, you gotta have Neymar, Ronaldo's, like at the end of the day, like people emerge, and sometimes you gotta have your role players, you gotta have stars, and you gotta it's not always so simple. I think it's important to remember there's your side, their side,
sure,
the real side, and it's not easy to balance and juggle and do everything and make everyone happy in a lot of spots. So I think that's it's a tough position to be in, but it's also it's exciting to be at the forefront and be a leader. So
at the end of the day, our goal, and my goal still is in a lot of ways, because like I said, poker has really changed my life. So like at the end of the day, the goal was to grow poker, and I feel like Twitch poker has grown poker. I feel like I can very comfortably say that.
I say this all the time, and I want to know your opinion, but I truly believe that without Twitch, without YouTube, people doing video and highlights, and Twitch providing that platform, I think poker would be in a really, really bad shape. And I think that some of the major companies, obviously, PokerStars has a nice streaming force of streamers. I was there, Jamie was there, Kevin was there. Also now we're at Party Poker. We have a full team. Jamie and I co-manage Party Poker team online. I know Vadim, the guys in Party, what they're doing, and the industry. It's important for people to have aspirational goals. Like, it's not like it was in 2006 and 5 and the deals, right? They were giving money at final tables to anyone to wear a patch. There was 60 pros on site sponsored. It's different now, but they're coming. I think people are understanding that again, that this is important. Even some like the PO Solver, Wizard, Sorcerer players, the highest level players, kind of realize, though, if you don't have guys at the ground level and people entertaining and promoting, like, poker can die. Like, it's tougher now. The games are harder. There's solvers, there's HUDs. It's like, it's a constant battle of like finding ways to make it entertaining, engagement, and bring new people in. Because guess what? In the US, it's starting to come back, but the 20, if you look at the stats, I think, I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm sure you're very aware, it's like the 21-year-olds and stuff. You look at the World Series of Poker the last couple of years, there's not many 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds playing in the main event, right? It's like we're kind of losing that younger generation that's playing and coming up. Because back in the day, it was like in college, everyone was playing poker, and you just kind of go through and come up. And now it's not quite as it's not like there's not really a feeder system, and the ecosystem of poker. It's a great game, and it's awesome. But at the end of the day, like, there's got to be stuff for people to be engaged and interested, or else we're gonna lose sort of the path, I think. So I mean,
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Poker is it's a really hard game, man. And it's not going to get easier.
Right. It's a hard game, but it's a great game. And I think that's also important, where people are sort of giving that message. That's what I like to push, is it's a great game. I like to say it's not a hobby, because for me, I live, breathe, sleep it. It is what I do for a living, but it's cool. A lot of people can do it and play for fun and improve. It's like, look, you can get better. It's a highly intensive, skilled game with a nice combination of luck. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying quit your day job. Don't become, not recommending people become poker professionals, but like, if you like to play, you can get better, you can improve, you can learn, and it's fun. So as long as you're being responsible, and that's sort of it's been great. Sorry, get fired up. I get fired up. This is like the history of
I always tell people too, like, the way you become a professional poker player is by not trying to become a professional poker player. That kind of becomes you. Right. Like you stream on poker, and when you're not streaming, but you're playing poker, like, all of a sudden you're just making 3 or 4, 5x what your salary is at your day job for 6-7 months in a row. And it's like, okay, this isn't that random anymore.
Right. Yeah. Now,
like, maybe I should keep doing more of this. Right. But that being said, I used to always, like, when I would see people streaming and be like, oh man, I had 50 viewers for the first time today. I'm all in. I quit my job. Scott, please help me. It was like, don't do that. Don't quit your job.
Yeah, be careful. Don't put that on me. I'm not going to be every day doing this. This isn't going to work necessarily like that. It's not just going to be a dream spot. But yeah, man, it's really exciting. It's cool. So it's great. And then did you when Twitch was going on and you what point? How many years were you there? Well, give me a little bit of the timeline. You started at Twitch. When was it that you actually took the role of in charge of Twitch Poker? Like, how long were you at Twitch before you moved into Twitch Poker? Or did you come? You said you were talking at the thing and you came.
Just before that, basically. I think I was there for like 5 or 6 years or something like that. To be honest with you, I don't really know the exact date. I have to look at like my resume or whatever, which I haven't opened in. It's a meme. I don't even know if Twitch is on my resume. I have to look at when I left my previous job to know when I started at Twitch.
Right.
And I left Twitch about 2 years ago.
Okay.
2.5 years ago now, probably 2.5 years ago.
And are you happy with, obviously I know Farhan very well, and now he's moved on doing some other projects and working within Twitch and great guy as well. Farhan was there. How you guys were overlapping or summer? Because he was working at Twitch and he was helping with poker, and then he became taking over your role. Are you happy with where Twitch and poker is? Do you feel like it's going in the right direction and it's good hands? Like, are you not? I mean, I guess you're not in day to day on what's happening there on poker and Twitch, but looking at it when you check in, see the numbers, see what's going on. Do you feel like Twitch is growing properly in poker at the moment? Do you think it's doing a good job?
It was not at all, and I think it was actually hurting pretty bad. And I think in the last 6 months, it started doing much better again. And I think that's a combination of things. And I don't think that's actually Farhan's fault, by the way. Farhan hasn't been dedicated to poker on Twitch in a long time.
Right. He was getting spread across different tasks, and it wasn't just like that was not just.
He's not the poker guy. Twitch does not have a poker guy. When I left Twitch, they kind of never had anyone be the poker guy again.
Right.
They're like, well, Scott's gone, so like we hope this stays around. In the last 6 months, there's been, and it's not just my firm, but my marketing firm has been doing a lot of work to get a lot of different people that stream poker for the first time and continue to do it. There was a window where Stars was dropping even streaming pros. Party picked a lot of people up and got people streaming again, and there needed to kind of be a resurgence. And I'm super fortunate to have a few different poker clients at the firm that are empowering me to help get people to stream poker that are not professional poker players. I think that it's a big deal to continue to grow poker and use Twitch as the primary platform to do so. I think there's no better platform. But that being said, well, I think it's super valuable to have someone like yourself who is a poker professional as a signed pro, because you're a great ambassador for the game. I think the best way to grow poker is to get people that are interested in poker or passionate about poker and think their communities will be interested in poker, but don't stream poker primarily. So that's when you've seen guys like Andy Milanakis jump in the mix, and you've seen like the King of Twitch Poker stuff that happened, and like even the Twitch Storm thing most recently. You're seeing a whole bunch of people stream party poker that are not traditional poker broadcasters, and these different folks are able to drive new users and depositors to these sites and help grow the ecosystem and build new names and brands to the space. There's a guy named Ludwig that's a Smash Brothers commentator that just started streaming in these like Twitch sit and go things we were doing, and like talked some smack and just like won 3 in a row. It was like just crushed all the content creators. Like, yep, I'm the best. Drop the mic, walk away. He has a YouTube video, I think, that was called like "Why I'm the King of Twitch Poker" or something like that. It's fun and it's exciting, and it brings new people to the game. So I think that was in a bad place, but it's in a better place now than it has been for a while.
I have to step in just to just to clarify on the term you mentioned that Stars dropped streamers and Party picked them up. I can't speak because there was a huge change in Party Poker. Obviously, Daniel Negreanu, who was basically the ambassador for so long, is stepped out. Not to go into too many details on that, but he did leave and went to another network. I can speak for myself, Jamie Staples, Kevin Martin. I don't, obviously there's a big change. A lot of people left, but I can just make it, for the record that we were offered and didn't choose to renew and went with Party Poker. Yeah. But I do know they did drop, some
guys like Nanonoko.
Yeah, like there was stuff where they, they listen. Again, don't want to. I had a good time there. I like people.
Party now too, right?
Yeah, LQ went to party. I think even before, but it's at the end of the day, like I think it's pretty clear the initiative, the motives of the sites and what Party Poker obviously. Yeah. They're Rob and what they're doing and what their motives are, and they're really just focused on poker. Whereas some other sites, I think, showing they're more into like casino, gaming, sports. Which listen, the industry is moving. The industry, there's very big sports presence coming, and a lot of these sites are their businesses, of course, first, but I think that's what I like about what Party Poker's doing, and they care about poker. Rob cares about poker. Within major companies that have poker's not their predominant focus, that it's good to see that Rob is there driving and really paying attention. And that's what he's doing. It's poker alone, not looking at the GVC and what they're doing with sports and casino. That's a separate category. Whereas Stars, I can't say I just know that it's pretty clear what their focus is on. And again, it's good to have competition though. It's good if, like I was saying too, if everyone's streaming at Poker Stars and there's Tonka, who was a monster, is at 888, and now he's not there. And now Party has no streamers. Like, guess what? That's not good for people. That's not good for aspirations who want to come up, because there's no deals, there's no sponsorship, and there's no competition. Stars can pay, the minimum or whatever, and that's it. When there's another show in town, it's good, So, and also, I think it's just I just don't want to go on a tangent here, but it's good as well when there's competition and when there's multiple places to stream, because it just allows people options, and it allows the sites that they have to give to the players, right? There has to be some incentive and some, it's obvious, it's economics, monopoly. You don't want a monopoly. It's not good for everybody involved when there's
100%. So competition is great. Yes. I would say that from the poker site side of things, when it comes to growing poker, personally, I feel like there's two sites that are doing a much better job right now than everybody else. And Party is one of those two sites. I would love to see sites like Stars remember their roots and step it up again. Because again, that competition is healthy, and they can do it in ways other than just signing Daniel Negreanu back. Like, there's other ways to grow poker now.
Right.
And I would love to see sites like 888 step it up more and enter these worlds in a much bigger way. Because I think the more competition there is, the better. The more sponsorships there's available for players, the more content there's created, the more viral moments that happen, the more the game grows. In terms of streaming platforms, it's the same thing. Like, Twitch needed competition for a long time. The problem is that everyone kept doing it wrong. So back in my esports days, when we were talking about those, my first team it goes to actually wasn't sponsored by Twitch at first. We were sponsored by a competitor to Justin TV called Own 3D. And Own 3D went out of business because they were just paying people way too much money to be sustainable. So they just went under. If you look at what Twitch does now, you look at like Facebook gaming and YouTube gaming and these other Mixer. I think that for a very long time, they were all doing it so wrong that they couldn't even be taken as serious competition. It was like, come on, guys, like, you're backed by Microsoft and you are Facebook. And you are backed by Google, and you are YouTube, with the largest video platform in the world, pretty much. Like, let's step it up here. The good thing is, though, is they've all been stepping it up in big ways too. So Twitch actually does have more meaningful, real competition. When you see people like Ninja getting moved to Mixer and Shroud, and like the most watched people on the site at one point in time, that's a pretty big deal. Like that, like, Twitch doesn't affect Twitch's minutes watched very much, but it is a big move when a site like that acquires those people.
How, I'm a bit ignorant to that platform and how it works. How big a deal is that? And can you talk a little bit of economics before? Because I do want to talk about Endgame talent, what you got going on, and what we have going on. That I've endorsed that part of it, and I believe in it, and I think it's awesome. But I want to understand a bit about that move with Ninja. Does that affect the bottom line on Twitch? How big a deal is it? And also, how is Mixer doing? Because I've never even looked at the platform. I don't understand. Is it the same exact thing or similar? And how does that work? Is it so Mixer's paying Ninja, obviously, that he got a deal? I don't know if it's public info or not. But how did that go down? And was that something that Twitch, I would imagine they had a conversation, of course, like a fight, or there was some kind of
yeah. You have a partnership agreement with Twitch. I don't know what your terms are anymore and if you've renewed or whatever, but As those agreements end now, the world is at a point where you can call these other platforms, or I should say call, but you can get in touch with people in their partnerships teams, and you can say, hey, my Twitch agreement's coming to an end. This is my minutes watched. What is this worth to you? And then you can go to Twitch and say, Twitch, this is what I'm getting offered by so-and-so. I like your platform. Do you want to keep me around? So there was definitely a bid war for these people. Twitch wouldn't just like happily watch someone like Ninja or Shroud go. They've both been around the platform for so many years. That being said, poker specifically, I'm pretty sure is only allowed on Twitch. I don't think you can stream poker on Mixer, and I don't think you can stream poker on YouTube Gaming, which is really unfortunate, obviously, because it bottlenecks the game itself. Now, at the end of the day, when it's very interesting, so you would think people are like channel specific, because when you watch Twitch, you probably noticed you've had the same 100 or 50 people, or whatever the number is, almost since day one, since you started. You have like Jeff Gross mega fans that you like see them in your chat. It's almost like, even if you've never met them before, it's probably like you've known these guys for years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
The reality is though, is that Twitch's minutes watched, they released something that like really wasn't impacted when Ninja left, because while those people are very Jeff Gross specific and some of them will follow you to another platform, they are more platform stuck on their the platform of Twitch than they are willing to go to another one.
How does that makes a lot of sense? How is Mixer? How is it? Is it similar with the same type of thing with subscription and other things? It's literally just a mimic. It's Microsoft's Twitch.
So here's the biggest difference between Mixer and what makes Mixer so unique, and why they could give people. I don't know what the deals, the specifics is, and if I did, I wouldn't say them because it wouldn't be right to do, right? But at the end of the day, what makes things like Mixer so unique is that Mixer is owned by Microsoft, who owns Xbox. So like when they signed someone like Ninja or Shroud, hypothetically, I'm not saying they did, but hypothetically, they were really smart. They could build into their contracts that they now have to, like, okay, we're going to sign you and you can stream Fortnite, but when we release a new Xbox exclusive, you need to create 20 hours of content around that game for over the duration for like pre-day one, on day one, and on day two, to drive day one sales. Because game developers and publishers, we work with a lot of those guys at Endgame too. What they're really focused on is either day one sales or in-game downloadable, purchasable content like skins, things like that.
So actually, I'm pulling up for the first time ever Mixer. I just was trying to see how it looks. It's kind of it looks very similar. Wow. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm a little shocked that Ninja has 9,000 on, and what he was getting like 50 or 100,000 like easily on Twitch. So I mean, that's a massive drop in numbers. I mean, obviously, right? Because the platform's so much smaller. But I think that's to your point that like people are platform specific. It's not like a Ninja fan is a Ninja fan, but he's like, do I have to go over there, download? I'm already paying, or I'm subbed, or I have this situation here. You know, he's going to keep his diehards are going to move over, but he lost maybe what? It's hard to say, but like you look at the numbers, he lost a big chunk of his concurrence.
But it's okay with him because he's getting paid a certain rate no matter what happens, and he probably has incentives, if anything, like this is your minimum, which is probably more than he was making.
Right.
And now it's like, and this is as you grow over here. If you can do that again, this is what you will make. There was a time on Twitch where he had over 200,000 subscribers, paying subscribers per month.
Wow. It's so crazy.
And those weren't all $5 subs. Like, but that was also back when Epic Fortnite was just first exploding, and they did a thing where it was like, if you link your Twitch account with Epic or whatever, or vice versa, it was a free sub. So all these people that were playing Fortnite were giving their free subs to Ninja and other streamers, which was freaking genius and good for Tyler to explode. Tyler's been around Ninja's been around since like Halo, and like he's an OG esports pro in America, and has been on the grind with, he had 100 viewers for a really long time before he became who he is now. So he's like grinded for life to get this moment, and then got the moment and made the most of it. So that's really rad. That being said, he definitely lost a lot of his concurrence. The platform's not as big, and some people did switch over to Mixer with him, but not enough to put a dent in Twitch's minutes watched.
Right. Okay. Really interesting. But you obviously, Ninja, smart guy, has a full team around him. So they looked at the numbers, they protected themselves. So they're not, it's not just like, we're going to lose 90% of our concurrence, but we're going to have a nice, sweetheart deal and get them guaranteed plus upside, whatever. So
he's a smart guy, and he does have a very smart team behind him for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's interesting. So that's interesting. And again, you still utter that sentiment that it is good. Competition, stuff like Mixer, other things, keeps Twitch on their toes, keeps them motivated, lets them know, hey, we got to be careful. We're going to lose a couple big names, but let's try to keep them. Let's, it kind of keeps everyone on their toes. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%. I mean, they even have to have, I mean, from every aspect, not only do they have to pay people more money eventually to keep them, because eventually you can lose everyone, they also have to create even more features and more things that make it better for broadcasters. Like competition for a site like Twitch is so important for the ecosystem. And you're seeing so much more growth out of Twitch. When I was first at Twitch, there was not a lot of people. Okay. There was not a lot of employees. When I left, there was like 2,500. And that number is, I don't know what it is now. I've heard it went down a little bit and then went up a little bit. I don't know where it's at, but the majority of that is engineers and stuff like that just are dedicated to making the site a better experience for content creators and viewers.
Right.
So they have to try even harder now than ever, and Twitch trying harder for you is only better for you, right?
It really is nice to be a part of. It's been great, and I want to, I love it. It's fun, and it's fun to see people building their own channels. And again, with content in terms of YouTube and Twitch, like I'll give this example about Doug Polk. He's really polarizing. A lot of people really like him or they don't like him. He's very, he's controversial. He stirs the pot. He's got his own style. He's he does what he does. But like I was at my first ever basically YouTube when I started in 2017. Jamie Staples actually was like the one who kind of put me on it. Was like, you should have a YouTube channel, get this going. Didn't know what I was doing, bought a camera, was walking around the World Series in 2017. And I came to the camera with my table. I guess I'd been streaming Twitch for a year or so, seriously. And a guy came up to me at my table at like a 1,500 WSOP event. And I got my whole, I've been vlogging. It's a break time. He comes up like, hey man, what's going on? Like, dude, that's so cool. He was like, and I was like thinking he was gonna say, oh, I watch your Twitch or something. He's like, that's awesome. What do you, what's your name? And then he was like, do you know Doug Polk? And he was like, I was like, yeah, no, I know Doug and whatever. But he was like, I'm here at the World Series because I watched Doug Polk's videos and it got me back into poker. That is what he said. And that was like a very strong statement to me, realizing that, man, people that have played poker or like poker, they are seeing stuff. It is sparking them to, hey, like, oh, wow, that's fun, or this is still going on. And, and it gets them in the game. It gets them excited. It gets them, whether it's Doug, whether it's Jamie, whether it's Jason Somerville, Tonka, whoever, you can name 50 to 100 people that are streaming and people really, like you said, they have like 50 to 100 really core fans or people that are never going to miss a stream. Then it kind of goes from there. But it's important. It's important to have this type of stuff in the industry. So it's
In regards to Doug, like no matter what someone's personal opinion of Doug Polk is, if anyone that tries to say that Doug isn't entertaining, really, really smart, and hasn't done his fair share of growing the game, I just think they're like incredibly incorrect. He's a very smart guy. He's not only growing the game of poker and built a huge channel, he's also like at one point was one of the best in the world, right? So he's a pretty damn smart guy and done a lot for the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's again, there's a lot of personalities in poker and a lot of interesting times where we're at. So Scott, we got a lot of questions. 75, considering that you don't have your Twitch, you don't have a you were mentioning about social media. You've sort of doing less of that and more focus. You're a businessman now. You're a mogul with Endgame talent. I'm gonna show. I say I'm involved at this in a capacity. I've got a bit of a I believe in you and what you're doing, and we're I want to let you share with us what Endgame talent is and how this came about and where you I guess technically left Twitch, right? This was you started your own agency. So tell us a little about this, and then we're gonna knock out some of these 75 plus questions.
Sure. So Endgame is a marketing firm. We focus on building communities for brands and developers, publishers. So not just within poker. However, poker has definitely been one of our sweet spots. We talk with clients. We understand what a client needs to achieve to hit their goals and be successful. And then we have a custom programs team, and our programs team builds out plans and then oversees the execution to achieve their goals and exactly what they're trying to accomplish and making their lives easier. when we work with someone, our goal is to make them hit their goals and make their lives just so much simpler than they were before they worked with us, so we can continue to bring them on as clients. Have a really amazing team. Obviously, you and Phil Hellmuth are the only two people that we have let be involved in any way, shape, or form on the investment side of things as an advisory stuff. Really good relationship with you guys, and you guys really believe in what we're doing. So we're super honored to have you guys be a part of it. Because we're building communities, and that's our core focus for brands, we get to give a lot back to the Twitch community and get to spend a lot of money with content creators. We've paid over 500 content creators in the last 18 months. And that's not one guy, all the money. That's over 500 people have received some sort of money from us. We just did a thing called Twitch Storm with a client or with ACR actually, that gave 140 something people $50 giveaways every 5 minutes. And the whole focus wasn't even to grow poker. It was just to grow smaller streamers on Twitch. So we rated a channel every 5 minutes for 24 hours straight was the goal. We had a few lapses, and hopefully we get to do another one. Hopefully it's even better. But we just gave a bunch of random small streamers $50 to give away to their stream, and send a whole bunch of viewers their way to talk about who they are and what they do and hope they get new followers. And it was crazy, man. When Phil got rated, he called me right afterwards when he was done, and he was super hyped, and he was offline for 20 minutes, and I could still hear the follower notifications nonstop.
Wow.
Because the train was 12,000 people. So it was mass people follow it. And it was we're talking on the phone for 25, 30 minutes. And it's just the new follow alert in the background that Streamlabs just said it. I'm like, hey bro, can you lower your computer speakers? Because I can still hear all of your followers. which was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we focus on building communities for brands and helping them achieve their goals, whether that's new for casinos. It's a lot of new first-time depositing users, and I can very confidently say that there's no one in the world that can drive a new first-time deposit user to an online casino than we can, hands down, and we'll prove it time and time over again. We work with a lot of with a lot of game developers and publishers. We've done some work with a company called Tencent, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, and PUBG Mobile over in China before it was rebranded. Same thing for them. We build communities around their game. We get people watching them. We give them a chance to be a thing on Twitch and exist. For anyone, having a community on Twitch that you're a centerpiece of is really valuable, because that's organic marketing that is evergreen and will never go away.
Right.
Once we get it to a point, they don't even need us, which is cool. That's what we want.
That's it's very cool. It's awesome to see, kind of your path and development, and also understand your relationships and contacts, and then sort of dive into the next phase, and what your passion is and what you're great at. So that's exciting. And is there any plans for, in terms of goals in the future primarily right now, is that fair to say your primary focus is Endgame talent?
Yeah, it's my only focus. I do play a bit of cards. I go to the cage in Costa Rica as much as I can, which is super
I've been there many times. It's fun, man. That's a good deal.
Someone invites me out to an event, I try to come. You know what I mean? I love poker, man. Poker is a huge part of my life, but my focus is definitely work. I have a lot of responsibilities to protect my shareholders and their investments and their equities, and a lot of responsibilities to my staff to make sure everything goes well for them, and a whole hell of a lot of content creators we work with that I need to make sure are taken care of in everything we do too. And on top of that whole list too is our clients, folks like Party, for example. We have to make sure we're helping them achieve their goals and keeping them on the right path and guiding them and helping them get those new users. So it's super important, and it's definitely my passion right now.
That's awesome. Where someone who I would say is not much more ingrained position, just see from a sky, a high view, that you're able to see the industry of poker and how it's kind of evolved. You've been, really tied into it for a long time, playing, working with it, Twitch. Now your Endgame talent is not necessarily poker, right? It's doing gaming and stuff, but you're in the world. What is your thoughts on just the poker world in general right now? Seeing legislation, Michigan passed, Pennsylvania passed, sites are coming in, sports betting at a federal level, esports is blowing up. What is your thought? Are you bullish bearish? Where are you at on the poker gaming type everything? And like the USA, let's just say in particular, people always ask, when will poker be legal in my state? When is it going to get back? I mean, it's so crazy, right? That you
I wish I could say the answer was yesterday, you know what I mean? Or actually when I was a little more confident at the game a few years ago. But I hope super soon, man. Like, I love poker, and it's definitely good for business too. Like, it would not be bad for me in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I really would not be where I am today without poker. Poker has done a lot for me. So I hope it does become even more legalized than it already is. I would love to see California get out of that list as a California resident, knowing how many people live in California. Yeah, man, I hope it all happens soon. In terms of the growth of poker, I think the sky is the limit. I mean, the more I see what we can do in terms of prices and new users and what people are typically paying and what we can drive them for, the more I know that there's ways to grow this game, and we're not even close. Twitch poker can be so much larger than it is right now. That's not even close to stopped. And I want to make Twitch poker, I shouldn't say make, I want to help Twitch poker become 10, 15x larger than it is right now. And I think we can do it. I want that game to have 10 plus million followers on Twitch, not 1.5. And I know it's possible. Just need the right support.
That's it's just so crazy that one law, one pass, one state like California, for example, just like one little flick of a thing. I'm born and raised in Michigan. Michigan was like in the midnight hour. It was through last year. The governor, everything was done. It was passed. Everything was sorted. And then the governor on the way out, believe the governor, don't quote me by the way, the one last signing of the thing, basically vetoed it last second. I'm like, wow, maybe it's not going to happen for years. And then now it did get pushed through, and now it's through. But this stuff happens fast. And now, I mean, listen, the coronavirus, we haven't even really touched on it. It's disruptive to so many industries. It's a crazy time we're in right now. I mean, hopefully we'll never see again something like this, and hopefully we just get through it. It's a topic in its own. But for gaming, casinos, it's really affected. I mean, Vegas is shut down. Like, casinos are, who knows when they're going to be back open, right? Like, that's the last place people are going to want to go with chips and being in a closed space and all that with the virus stuff, right? So it's like they're probably, they're not just sitting at home doing nothing. They're looking at it. They're thinking about, like, wow, what if this is 6 months? What if this is 1 year? I mean, there's a decent chance that there's some stuff gets pushed through, or things come together, or like they go to the governments and say, look, you got Sheldon Adelson, who's for whatever reason just dumping on poker, and he just believes that it's going to kill his business, and he's putting 25 million into Trump and trying to get everyone not in online gaming. But like, the reality is, like, they may need to go to online gaming. These casinos and sites may need poker, may need their games online, right? Like, their industry is shut down. So
I would love to see the day that Sheldon Adelson builds an online poker site. That would just like complete my life.
Right. I mean, look,
I know.
His back's against the wall right now. So yeah, it's crazy times. So it's very, 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 I guess, important. It's a critical time in our industry, and it's good to know that you're involved, you're aware, and you got your eyes on it. And I think that we're moving in the right direction overall. And it's fun also, esports and these type of deals you're working with, and people that you're pushing into poker to stream. It's awesome. Well, Scott, let's get into some questions, man, because we've been running here for a while, and I think we've covered a lot. I feel like people have a good understanding of your background, and also what, you were the, catalyst, sort of the early times at Twitch poker, which is pretty cool, because in the history of poker, it's important, right? It's a monumental shift in what's going on. Let's go ahead and knock through. Can you see my screen here? I'll read some of these off. It's probably pretty small, but I can
just read them off, and I'll try to answer them as briefly as possible if there's 75 of them.
Yeah. We'll kind of rapid fire shoot some of these. So interesting first question. There was a debate on whether or not full-time streaming is sustainable as a job. What is your take on that?
Well, there's some people that make several millions of dollars a year, if not over $1 million a month. So yes.
Okay, that works. What's new? Last Twitch Storm was great. Any new cool stuff? Any new innovations or projects or stuff that you see that's going on within Twitch that you like or think are great?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk about other things we're working on internally, but I really do hope we get to do more Twitch Storms soon. There's lots of cool stuff going on, but I don't want to try to answer that quickly because of NDAs.
Okay, there you go. I like it. Did you have an aha moment? I like this question from McLovin on Twitter saying, was there ever a moment where you were just like, you said you had seizure or epilepsy, diagnosed, you were fighting. Like, was there ever a moment in your life where you just kind of like stuff came together and you're like, I want to do this, or I'm going to do this, or let's just even take your agency that you created. Like, when, like, give me like some moment where you just like something clicked and you're like, I'm going to do that.
I don't think I've had that. It's really funny. I tell people all the time that I still have no idea what the hell I'm doing. The reality is that no one has any idea how to do what we're doing, and that we just know a little more than everybody else that's trying. And we know we don't know what we're doing, so we're learning more all the time. I don't really want to have aha moments because I want to keep learning every day and keep improving myself. And I feel like when people have those moments, like, oh, I get this, that's when they stop learning as much. So I try to not let myself have those moments.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like that approach. Biggest online win ever.
Cash games, and there was a day online during a World Series of Poker summer where I played some guy online that started out at like 2.5 on WSP.com, and we ended up playing all the way up to 10-20, and I ended up beating him for like 27,000. And then later that day, I got him again for like another 45K. So in there's like a 24-hour period, I beat this guy for like 70K or something heads up.
Wow.
That was probably my best online day ever for sure.
Cash games tournaments are fun. It makes sense for Twitch, right? Because it's like a story, it's a build up, there's a start and a finish. The cash is cool, but like cash games online now are much tougher, right? Than in general, but also it's just like, listen, if someone's playing like 200, 400, it's cool. But like overall, people want to see a story and stuff. But I love cash. Cash is fun as well.
Yeah. I love tournaments too. Tournaments are super dope. It's just that I'm so bad at them. Like, I'm bad at poker, and tournaments are like, I just am the worst, man. I never win.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the cage, because I've had some good results there. It's fun. It's a great format. You had a huge score. You were maybe the biggest or one of the biggest winners ever there. Didn't you win like 40 or 50K in one of the weekends, the 2 days?
Yeah, I won the most ever there. I won like 65K, I think, in a weekend, and then I also won a heads-up match for another 20,000. So I had like a 90K or 100K trip or something in Costa Rica for like 4 days, and I think I played 4 or 5 times, and I've cashed all 4 or 5 times.
Well, there you go.
So it's been a good place for me. I love that event. Is so much fun, and they do such a good job hosting it and making people have a good time. Feel welcome. So I like it. Appreciate it and bring me out. Yeah,
that is. They do put on a cool event there with the boys. Got to shout out to Phil and Juan, man. Good, great guys. All right. Influencers get bad press in mainstream media. Why is this? Do you agree with that or no?
Get bad press. Is there any bad press? I think any press is good press, pretty much almost always, if not always, because people are talking about you. Influencers are in the spotlight all the time. So if someone does something, and there's a lot of them. So if someone does something stupid, people are definitely going to talk about it. If someone does something great, people talk about that too. So I think that people that are jerks or people that just don't think before they act definitely will consistently see themselves getting negative spotlight. But I don't think any press is bad press, really.
Okay, I'm with that. Do you like Omaha 5 cards? Do you play that game? Have you ever played it?
It's the devil's game. But yes.
I don't even want to ask about 6 cards then. I've heard that. I've never played that, but what is that? Is that poker at that point? What are we doing at 6 cards?
I can never, if I ever try to play that game and you hear me trying to play that game, Jeff, just don't let me, because I will have $0 very quickly.
That is true, man.
The cage I went off in the most in was actually an Omaha event. That was super fun.
That was the one you went the most often?
Yeah, it was Omaha. It was like, that was the Omaha, one of the Omaha events. I played one pot that would have been, just that one pot would have been the biggest cage win ever, actually, in one hand. It's so crazy. Omaha's so wild.
Dude, Omaha is honestly, I think Omaha, I've been playing on Party during the Power Fest that's going on right now. Shout out to Party. Got to give a Power Fest. Big online action. Online numbers are up. There's a ton everywhere. Every site, they're just huge tournament guarantees and whatever. But the Omaha,
I just need to come to California, and California still happens, so I can play.
Right. That's California is the one. But the The Omaha knockouts are fun. I love that these bounty KO tournaments are just becoming so popular, right? Because it's kind of cool. You play a $500 or $1,000 buy-in, you get a quarter buy-in back if you knock one guy out. So it's like kind of varies a little bit. It's fun as well. But that's a fun format because PLO is so like violent and volatile. It's like cool to get some the knockouts in there as well. So those are becoming really popular.
What's the most times you've re-entered a PLO tournament?
Look, next, this is about you, Scott. We're not talking.
I feel like the variance of PLO tournaments would be the scariest.
Well, luckily they do put they cap it restriction on. Yeah, it's but no, they're fun, man. I mean, live, I've done I think the WSOP. There's been the re-entry stuff for PLO. Like they've done some different 1Ks or 1500s, and I've been to the cage a few times.
I'm sure I will be too when I get to.
Let's see. Someone asking, are you a better player than an entrepreneur or a better businessman than a player?
Well, I would hope I'm a much better businessman because I'm an awful poker player.
Okay. Well, that answers that. What is someone asking, how does coronavirus affect your business indirectly, the Endgame Talent?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing is that clients that typically would be very prompt with payments and stuff might not be as prompt anymore because at the end of the day, when everyone's uncertain on the world, they're a little wary of like they want to hold on to money as long as possible. And some people are withholding money from vendors. And at the end of the day, we're not a mega small company, but we still are, 15 or so people. So when we have hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially withheld from us in payments, it can really play an impact on how our 15 people feel at the end of the day. That being said, it's also like in a weird way, like Twitch is booming. People need different ways to market than they have in the past. So if I do a good job at my job, I should be able to actually bring in more clients right now than I have before.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's one of those situations too, where if everyone sits back and says, it's not about what happens, how you react to what happens. Like, this is not good, of course. Like, this is bad for everyone. It's brutal. Everyone's there's really no one where it's like, oh, this is great. Maybe Netflix, right? And even then it's like, at some point it's like, what are we talking about? We're talking about people are dying.
It cannot possibly be good enough for any business for it
no. Supply chain, everything's chaos. But the sort of like, I would look at it like Black Friday in a way too, where in the moment I saw Black Friday as such a negative, like, oh, I can't play poker from the USA. This is crazy. This is what I was doing, on 2011, April 15th. All of a sudden, I was unhealthy. I hadn't been working out. I was done with my playing, college, done with everything. I was just kind of relaxed and just eating Chinese, playing beer pong and playing cards every day. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to start playing more live poker. I'm going to travel. I'm going to get in good shape. And it was just kind of like what thought to be so bad. It really was like a shakeup. And I hope that's what happens to people that are kind of going through the motions and whatever they're doing. It's like, get some time with your family, learn a new language, spend some time, relax, meditate, take this time. And although it looks so chaotic and bad, there's definitely going to be some positives that come out of it if you look at it.
Dude, we're living through history right now. And I don't think a lot of people get to live through history. And I hope this is the only like true history and I hope I live a long time. I hope it's only like real historic moment that I live through on the negative side of things. It's like, it's pretty scary, man.
Yeah, it's beyond scary. And, again, we're kind of, it's just a bizarre. It's like, we're not experts in it. We see the news, we keep an eye on it. You talk to some smart people and people that are sort of aware, and you start hearing exponential growth and are not, how serious this is. And, kind of a little disappointing that with seeing what was happening in China, Italy, other countries, that we had a little bit of notice, a little bit of a window where it does feel like we could have done more. But again, hopefully this comes into a thing where in the future there's policies in place. We get through this. We're stronger. We're more prepared, and we're better. Because honestly, this could even be like, let's say, because no one to spend a lot of time with coronavirus, but it's like you start talking about this and realize like, wow, it's like really affecting elderly people. Here's the rate, here's that. But like, this is a virus. This could have been anything, right? It could have been like way worse. It could have been for everyone. Like, so it's just like everyone it could be faster, more death. Like, the virus, we don't get to control what it does. And I think it's like, we gotta realize we are not ready for a potentially, it's like a threat to mankind, these type of things.
100%. I'll tell you what, I hope if anything comes out of this, at the minimum, is that people take shit like this seriously. Because living in San Diego, when I've like had to like go to the grocery store, the one time I've been out in the past like month, like there's people still going to bars at the time, and like people like that were frustrated they couldn't go to their local place to buy a drink, like, and there's still people that now they're having to give people citations at the parks because people are still trying to go to the park go for a jog. And these people are like, well, it's not a big deal. It's like, no, and you're the problem. Like if you are running out and hanging out with people and socializing, you are a huge part of the problem. So I hope that people learn from this and start taking this shit seriously real soon. That's all I want to say about it, really.
It's also exactly, and it's. I think I actually posted an Instagram video about the leader, the defense. The Secretary of Defense of Israel, kind of talking about one of the bigger problems too is like our kids, children, everybody, but interacting, and then they don't know. You don't know you have it. Excuse me. Now you're spreading it, right? That's the problem. Like, you have these kids who aren't affected as much, or maybe not even show symptoms, and then they're passing it to the elderly or to people, and it's very dangerous. So it's like, if we're not all practicing these things, it makes a big difference. One person can make a big difference and help, to level off the curve here. So
my brother-in-law's a doctor in New York right now, and he works in pediatric, but they've closed the entire pediatric ward of his hospital and have him working with adults. And the stories that I'm hearing from my sister are like just super sad.
And even like you see countries are releasing prisoners. Think about prisons. Think about places where people are jammed in tight spaces. There's no hygiene or bad or not. They don't have just readily stuff. It's like at some point you got to be worried about the hospitals. I heard stories are going through a year supply in one day in a lot of hospitals. If you think about that, there's just not. It's the supply chain not there. They're masks aren't there. Doctors are going through 15 masks a day, and patients. So it's it's really crazy.
No more coronavirus.
Yes. Do you have a favorite casino?
Favorite casino? No, like wherever the games are the best. And generally for me, like when I go to the casino, it's like one, like wherever the best game is, and two, the people that I'm around. I've had good experiences at Aria and Bellagio. I've had great experiences in Costa Rica at a much smaller, much different kind of casino, right? It just like, it's more about the people that I'm around. I honestly am not the biggest fan of being in brick and mortar casinos.
Right.
They're just like a little bit dirty generally. People aren't the tidiest, and I met a few of my closest friends in casinos, but I've also met a lot of people that are just not very wonderful in casinos. So not my favorite places in the world right now, I would say.
Right. Makes sense. I'm with you on that. And we got some other nickname, Rum Cakes. That's your name, your username. You're known as Rum Cakes. What is that? Where does that come from?
When I was like 10 or 11, 12 years old or something, I was playing a game called Tribes. I was this little kid. I joined this team called Drinkers, and I got on this voice chat named Roger Wilco back in the day. And they were all talking, and they were like, my name was Visions. There are actions. They're like, action, say something. So I said something like, wait, how old are you? Because I was squeaking, right? So I squeaked, and they were like, whoa, you're not 21? And I was like, no, guys, I'm 11 years old. And they're like, well, we don't know if we can have an 11-year-old on Team Drinkers. That's like kind of unethical.
Yeah.
And my teammates were like vodka and tequila and like Dos Equis and all rum and all of these names. So they like had a team meeting without me there, and we were like, okay, well, the position you play, no one else wants to play. So we're going to keep you on the team, but you're going to be named Rum Cake because kids can eat rum cake and there's booze in it when it's cooked. So I just kept the name Rum Cake. And a real short story about that is 12, 13 years later, after I had played Tribes, I sent my first sponsorship proposal to Justin TV for It's Gosu. And the only response I got to my entire deck was, is this Rum Cake from Tribes? And the person that read my deck was someone that I played Tribes with 12, 13 years ago when we were like 11, 10 years old.
Wow. Full circle.
Yeah, crazy.
Very, 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 very wild. Do you think Twitch poker is as popular as it was when you first started? Or let's say when you left? I mean, do you think Twitch has grown like in terms of popularity for poker, or is it leveled off? Where do you see it at the moment?
Definitely not as much as it was when it was booming. Jason was averaging like 25,000 plus viewers all the time at one point. But I definitely think we're on the right track to getting it back there, and I think we can be much larger than it's ever been very soon with the right work.
Very, very interesting. I think you're no question. No one's going to say that you weren't a pivotal role, and it's I don't know. I don't want to say that you're saying there's no one specifically at Twitch poker at the moment. Do you feel like that's something they may fill in, or they're just going to kind of let ride, or just hard to say? Like, what do you think the reason is they don't have someone doing the role like specific for Twitch?
This is not something anyone at Twitch has internally told me, but my gut would tell me that they are wise enough to know that poker sites need poker on Twitch to succeed more than Twitch needs poker to succeed. With that being said, poker sites should be very inclined to commit their resources towards making sure that directory is growing, and Twitch shouldn't have to commit very much. And if you have the right internal relationships at Twitch, you can be in a position in which you can still lots of the things that can still be leveraged as an employee can be leveraged from the outside if you have the right relationships. So I think that they probably recognize that poker needs poker on Twitch to succeed, and they will dedicate more of their resources towards helping it succeed, as to where a small video game publisher or developer might not be able to.
Okay. Do you have an icon in poker? Who's someone you've like looked up to, or maybe when you were coming up, just someone you watched on TV when you were first in poker, or someone you know now? Do you feel someone? I guess they use the word icon, but do you have an idol or someone that you really respect or just think is like a staple of poker?
Sure. So this goes back and forth in lots of different ways, but there was when I first started, I thought Phil Hellmuth was the man. Then there was a time where I kind of fell on this craze with all the guys I thought were the GTO robots that were saying Phil was bad. And now I think Phil is like hands down the GOAT. No one, I don't think, can ever catch his WSOP results. And what I've learned makes a great poker player is someone that constantly puts themselves in the right games in the right situations. Phil doesn't travel to every big event in Europe and play the 100Ks because they're freaking hard. Phil constantly puts himself somehow gets into the best home games probably in the world for enormous amounts of money, and is constantly putting himself in the right opportunities. And every summer shows up and makes runs at everything. It seems like.
Is it like the white magic, or some of the stuff he does and his ability in reading? I think it's like it's fair to say he's not a GTO player, but he knows all that, like a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
What's going on, and he is very good at exploiting players, maybe the best in his live reads and that stuff. It's
well, the other thing too is like I think there's this interesting philosophy of like how one of the things that drives me nuts when people ask me about poker hands is like, well, I did this because it's standard, and I'm like, well, if it's standard and most people suck, and all the people that suck are doing this thing, which makes it the standard thing, it's probably a bad thing to do, and there's probably a better alternative.
Right.
And I feel like if you really try to watch what he's doing when he plays, he might not be doing what all the robots are doing, but that's because everyone's doing it and he does things differently, and people have a hard time adapting to that. I really look up to Nanonoko in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
How much money Randy Liu made playing like 1-2 and 2-4 is like absolutely insane. And it was so smart to like just know his place and where he crushes and then just not get greedy. Like Nanonoko never got greedy and tried to go play everyone at 500 1K and just battle Doug and everyone because he knew where he can crush and he just kept crushing what he could do well. I have a kid that was involved in StarCraft with me for a long time that plays cash games full time now, and I look up to him a lot because his work ethic is like insane when it comes to the game. Like the amount of time he spends in solvers every week is nuts. A buddy of mine named Chris that works in the space. I'm not going to share his last name, but plays and backs some folks. I really admire him because I see the work ethic and the compassion he has for helping other players grow, because that's how he makes the majority of his money, obviously, is through his stable.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people in poker I really admire, man.
There's a ton of people who really do work hard and are great people in there. Actually, there's a lot of good questions in this. I just want, before I forget, talk about that Twitch event that you put on and you helped at the Aria. I got to play in it, or actually I ended up doing the commentary because I chose was fun to do. There was a bunch of a variety of people, streamers. I remember Hafu and I think Mitch Jones, and then some other Jason was playing, or we did a commentary. That ended up getting the crazy. I think it set the record for Twitch poker viewership. It was $100,000, I believe. That was a 100K giveaway, or for the prize pool, or something. Tell me about that. That ended up being insane.
We gave away 110K, and it was supposed to be a 2-day long 100K sit and go, and we were supposed to play to 3 players the first day, and we were down to 3 in like 50 minutes. We were like, "Oh shit, we didn't expect this to happen."
Right,
so that was our bad. So we were like, "Oh, well, let's give away 100K today and 10K more tomorrow, so we have 2 days of content then."
Yeah.
It was really cool, man. It was a super fun event to be a part of, and it definitely set the Twitch poker viewership record. I think it was like, I don't know what the number was, but it was like 35 to 45K.
Yeah, no, it was more. Yeah, it was a lot. It might have been. Yeah, it was over. It was definitely the record at the time. It may still be. But that was really
the record.
It was also interesting to see that the 10K got close to as many viewers, right? Kind of showing that the people are there. Not necessarily. It's also it shows you like there's guys that stream $20, $30, $50 tournaments on Twitch that are as popular, get as big numbers as the guys streaming the high stakes, right? So it's really community driven based. They support the people they want to watch, and it's not necessarily about how big the prize pool is and whatnot. I thought that was interesting.
Sometimes the prize pools get too big, and it actually is a bad thing in my opinion because it's unrelatable. Part of someone enjoying a story is because they can relate to the story, and if someone's paying for millions of dollars, it's hard to relate to millions of dollars. But most people can relate to $5,000 or $10,000, and $5,000 or $10,000. I don't care who you are in the world. That is an enormous amount of money. No matter how much money you have, 5 or 10K is not something to joke around about. So I think that smaller amounts of money sometimes are much more relatable to people, and it makes people enjoy it even more. And I also think that's one of the things that makes Twitch so rad is like people watch it for the content creators and the people they want to support more so than they do what they're playing for.
Right. Yeah, no, I'd completely agree with that. What's your favorite movie? Quick one. Do you have off the top of your head one?
Oh, I have no idea.
I always get stumped on this too. I actually have a go-to, but it's hard. It's hard to even remember.
What is your go-to?
I would say Shawshank Redemption. That's like one I've watched the most, and I just loved it. Just very
okay. I have a favorite movie, John Wick. If you want to know what I watch the most,
that's with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is like I have such a man crush on Keanu Reeves.
I gotta watch this because I've heard of this now.
You haven't seen John Wick?
I honestly never heard of it until maybe 4 months ago, and I've been told about it.
Oh my god, they're all so good, but you got to watch them in order. You can't watch 3.
How many are there?
3. They're really good though.
Mainstream. I don't remember seeing these like in the theaters or promoted.
Oh yeah, they're big. They're super good, man. It's like they're hack and slash movies, but it's like you got to watch, and you got to give them like you watch the first hour of the first one, and you're guaranteed to finish it, and you'll watch the rest of the series.
I will. That is going to be the next movie I watch. I will put that down. I actually told my wife about this a while ago, and we didn't watch it, so I'm gonna.
You gotta text me afterwards and be like, and give me your thoughts.
Yeah, well, I've heard good things, so I think I'm not too worried. I think it's going to be good. I will let you know. What inspires you?
People, seeing people grow and like improve, learning, just constantly trying to be a better version of myself. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there was a point of my life where like I definitely was making decisions that were not going to make me my best me, and focusing and like just trying to be the best version of myself I can be for everyone around me. And everyone that's involved in what I'm doing is something that I really, really inspires me to constantly be better all the time.
Awesome. And we see a question here from Chris Mottram, actually over in Australia. What's up, man? How are you, Chris? Asking, does Scott have a favorite non-poker streamer? Is there anyone that, poker, I don't want to, you've been worked so closely, can't put you on the spot like that. It's probably too many to choose, but do you have someone you like watching if you ever have some free time or just pull up the directory?
So I don't work with any influencers with an Endgame. We have a team that's awesome that handles all of that. But it's probably a bad thing for me to say, but I'm a big Andy Milonakis fan. Like he's like, and not just necessarily as a streamer, like having spent time with him, he's such a rad human being to work with. That guy is so smart.
Right.
And like the conversations The conversation that I had with him on the way back from Costa Rica was literally about how blessed we are to have flown and been to as many places we are, and him telling me that if you've had, it was like 2 or 3 international trips, you've technically flown the circumference of the world. And like just like random, like he's just a very smart person that knows lots of random cool things.
Yeah.
And will really blow your mind because you can have these like the conversation that's like very serious about how fortunate we are, and then like he'll say something just dumb and hilarious that just makes you laugh so loud the people behind you are telling you to shut the hell up, basically. So I really enjoy being around Andy and his content and stuff. He's just a special human being.
He's one of those guys too. I've watched or pulled up, and he just seems like, he's just a real guy. Just likes to have fun. He's basically like, he's sort of what I envision Twitch, right? It's like an original, like Justin TV walking around. He's doing the IRL. He's in Japan. He's in a thing, just kind of being himself, almost like oblivious to cameras there, just being whatever and just hanging out and letting you kind of know who he is and what he likes to do. And he's just.
Bieber shouted him out a few months ago on Instagram.
No.
Bieber like just made an Instagram post. It was like Andy Milonakis being Andy Milonakis to like his 200 million followers or something. Just like no big deal.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, Andy, did you see this? Because my employees were sending it to me, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, what? What do you mean that's cool? That's freaking amazing, man. You're so rad.
That is funny. Very, very interesting. Well, actually, you're gonna have to. I know you're close to him. You do some business, or I guess he's part. I don't know if he's part of the agency officially, or you've done some work with him and whatnot. But yeah, that would be a great guest to have on. I don't know if he's done podcasts, but yeah, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot and make you, Scott. You got to get him on the podcast. Help us out here, man. We got to get some Andy time.
Show today.
All right, I love it. Let's take a few more, Scott. This is again very interesting. Even myself, who I know you, I would say fairly well and call you a friend. I definitely learning some stuff and sort of the trajectory and some of the early days is very cool. Tell me a little bit about what would you say is the coolest or the most innovative thing you've seen on Twitch since you came there? Like obviously squads is very interesting now, and then interactive, different kind of feature. Also hosting. I remember when hosting became a thing. Like
hosting and raids. So like discoverability on Twitch is its biggest issue. It's actually pretty trash. If you are a new streamer, it is super freaking hard to get noticed. And there's this other weird element of there's literally no solution in the world for a content creator to spend money to market their content on Twitch. Like you can't, there's no efficient way to go buy ads for your Twitch stream.
Right.
And there is in everything else, which is just bizarre that you can't really spend money to advertise something. That's like, I don't know a lot of other industries where you can't spend money to advertise it well.
Right.
So I think hosting and raids are pretty massive because discoverability is horrible and it gives people an opportunity to help people grow. That's probably my favorite one.
And what do you think about squads now?
Squads are cool, man. I think they're awesome. Anything that's helping with discoverability is rad. They've had teams way before squads too, and they're different but similar to a degree, right? You could still probably find some Twitch team pages. Let's see if I can find one right now, like twitch.tv/teams/Eagle Geniuses or my EG or whatever. There seems like that exists where like you can go find everyone that plays in TSM and is streaming right now and things like that.
Yeah, no, it is cool. It's also, like you said, I forget the term. I liked it how they just kind of try anything, right? It's called experiment. What's
experiment to decide?
Experiment to decide. That's a very official and cool sounding thing. That sounds like a good way to do business. And
that is not my original idea, but that is really rad. It's probably one of the. If my favorite thing I learned from all of Twitch was probably that.
Very cool. Someone asked, are you proud of your game? Are you proud of your poker game? Do you feel like would you consider yourself, if you were to looking back on you don't play as much, but you still play, like, do you feel you're a strong poker player? Like, or you think like, yeah, you look at your game and results and your history of poker. It's an interesting question. I've never heard someone ask it like this, but
yeah. I'm more proud of my game now than I ever have been, but it's because I know I'm bad. Again, I like learning, right? So like I'm super lucky to have poker friends like you and folks that I get to talk to on a daily basis. They're just like way better than me.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's the same for everyone all the way up. Like
yeah,
me, like it's like even then, it's like I know as well. Like you see the guys at the top, or guys doing all the solver work and crazy. Like people, there's different levels of whatever, right? Everyone, there's people better, and that's what's cool about poker, because you can always learn, and there's always new stuff, and there's always population tendencies. Even just change. The game changes. How it was 6 months ago or a year ago, how you're playing the button is different, right? So it's like it's always.
So I'm proud of my game now because I'm learning more. When I play poker now, and I approach it with an open mind. Again, I go back to that time where I was making decisions that weren't necessarily best for me. I definitely thought I was good and was getting an ego. Now that I'm just much more humble in general than I was at that point in my life, and I learn so much every time I play. I'm more proud now than ever because I'm getting more out of it than I used to.
Makes a ton of sense. I would say, yeah, that's a good way to sum it up. And I think that's important in poker to realize that we always are learning. We're always getting better, and you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest about where your game is, what it is, and what you know and don't know. Because like the reality is,
I was so good because I was not a losing poker player because I was winning. But the reality was that there's other people winning so much more and they're so much better that I was beating people in games that were even worse than me. And then you come back to Phil Hellmuth, who I said is the GOAT. Like, look at him. He like is always in the best games. Like that, I think makes the best poker players, right? So proud that I'm learning.
Someone asked here, how are you the creator of Twitch Poker? Maybe just elaborate on that. Explain that you were, because Twitch was there. You came to Twitch. We did cover this in the podcast, but you basically were brought to create, to innovate, to bring to light Twitch Poker. So how would you say?
I literally pitched them the idea and said you should have poker on your platform, and that poker is a video game because you're looking at a screen and clicking buttons just like you are when you play StarCraft or League of Legends, just a different kind of game.
Yeah.
And convinced Twitch that poker was a video game and they should try something new. And then they tasked me to do that. And if it hit a certain mark, it became a full-time job, and it hit the certain mark and it became a full-time job.
And as you mentioned very quickly, the numbers were, you had a certain time to get there, what you were aiming for, and it was like instant.
Yeah. It took me like a few weeks, and it was supposed to take 3 months. And I remember when they first gave me the numbers, I was like, damn, I really hope I can hit this in 3 months. This is gonna be really hard. It just wasn't hard at all.
Boom, just sunk it, battleship. I love it. Why do you think on Mixer or other platforms it's not available? And is that something that like Twitch got grandfathered in, or why are Mixer and these other sites not taking a shot with streaming on poker?
Because certain companies just won't take a shot on gambling. The cool thing about Twitch is that a lot of senior folks at Twitch and at Amazon actually play cards, and I'm not going to say names and who because that's inappropriate, but there's a lot of these people at these two businesses that actually like poker. The chairman of Endgame, a guy named John Shipman, who he was very senior at Twitch, one of the main 3 or 4 or 5 guys. He, at the end of the day, I met him at Twitch in the poker game because he was more on the engineering side in the back end. We were playing a 1-1 game at the office every Friday night, and John was just like a guy in the game, and I literally thought he was just a random engineering manager or someone on the back end, and he was like just the guy that ran all of that stuff, basically.
Right.
So there's a lot of poker fans internally there that made them more receptive than other platforms.
That's awesome. Is there any mentor in the industry, or friend, someone growing up or at Twitch, or someone that you really just kind of look up to and what they've done in business and sort of, there for you to ask questions on your path? Is there anyone in particular?
Yeah, my 3 mentors right now that I lean on the most, or I'll say 4. John Shipman, who's our chairman, is still, someone that I interact with on a work level and also like a personal growth level. We also have Alan Mazer, who actually works here now, despite working for the company that I have the quote unquote stupid title thing in. He's definitely one I mentored and someone I still lean on for advice. Kevin Lynn, who was COO of Twitch for a really long time, is someone I'll contact on a regular basis. And honestly, when it comes to like life stuff, when I'm like having a rough day, Phil Hellmuth has become kind of a mentor too. He's like Mr. Positivity, and Phil Hellmuth is the greatest cheerleader of all time.
For sure.
So when I need like life advice to keep my chin high, if I'm having a tough day, I call Phil, and Phil picks that chin right up real quick.
Yeah, it is very, very, very cool to have to be a part of this. Again, I'll say, it's got my backing. I have involvement and been invested in Endgame talent right there. So that's Phil Hellmuth and I are both big cheerleaders of you, man. We both believe in what you do, and we both have put our money where our mouth is. And again, Scott, I would like everyone to just understand again that you've had quite a ride, and there's definitely, you have a place in the history of poker and with Twitch and what you've been able to do and help create and where we're at now. So I think, dude, we've covered a ton of stuff, really informative. I want to give away a $55 party poker ticket courtesy of Party Poker and Scott Ball today for being on the show. So Scott, I'm going to let you, I know you know all about retweets and giveaways and all that. I'm going to let you time it on here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link. We're going to go over to here, and then someone is going to win a $55 ticket when you tell me when.
All right. How about right now?
Right now, we almost got it right. It's a little RNG different,
Right,
and we are going to have a winner. I think this is a new winner. I don't believe I've recognized this name before. Mitcha Milic, if I'm pronouncing that right. You have a $55 Party Poker ticket coming. So, Scott, we're gonna go ahead and we'll conclude. Is there any closing statements? Anything you want to just that we didn't get to either touch on or just leave the world in this time of kind of chaos? Any message or anything you want to say before we close down our podcast? Hopefully we'll have you on again in the future. But anything you want to close out with?
Yeah, be safe, stay happy. Life is good. We were blessed. That's pretty much it, man.
I listen. There's not much more I'll say than that. Positive, and yeah, bro. I appreciate it, and we hope to chat soon. And of course, we'll be working together on some stuff going forward. And appreciate the time. Thanks again, guys. That is Scott Ball, formerly creator of Twitch, now president of Endgame Talent. Scott, thanks again for your time.
Cool. Take care, guys.
All right, Scott Ball, everyone. We'll see you on another podcast very soon. And again, guys, this will be up on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple, iTunes, you name it, it's got it. We're there. We'll see you soon, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.